أبدأ بالحمد مصليا على محمد خير نبي أرسلا وذي من أقسام الحديث
صلى الله عليه وسلم gave us guidelines towards Iman, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned them in the Quran. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to explain them. And from the greatest ayat to show the benefit and the blessing of Iman in our life now is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah An-Nahl. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فلنحيينه حياة طيبة. This ayah is a puzzling ayah, and this ayah is so great that there was a book that we were explaining on Fridays after Salatul Isha a couple of weeks ago, that the author, rahimahullah, when he made this book, he based the book upon this ayah. A whole book called Al-Hayatu Sa'ida, or Al-Wasa'il Al-Mufida Lil-Hayati Sa'ida, beneficial means or ways of achieving happiness for a happy life. And he used this ayah as a principle in that book. من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى, whoever does good deed, righteous deeds, male or female, we're all in this together. Because sometimes, like for example, the women or the sisters might get jealous. They're like, why is all the hadith and the ayat are always in masculine form? And our questions sometimes are why they're always talking about the men or brothers only. Like the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. A lot of people, they might get confused. And the same thing happened to a woman at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. She had the same question. Why is it always in this way? And that's not the case. It's just that's how the Arabic language is. Generally, they use that type of wording. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered her question with the ayah, the long ayah, إِنَّ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَالْمُسْلِمَاتِ. The Muslim men and the Muslim women. وَالْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْقَانِتِينَ وَالْقَانِتَاتِ. And he kept on going. سَاجِدِينَ سَاجِدَاتِ ذَاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةً وَأَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept on mentioning different categories of worship that the men and the women could do. They're all in this ibadah the same. In the ibadah wise in Sharia, we're all the same. Male and female. Our duty is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in this ayah, مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى. Whoever does good deed, male or female. وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ. So now from this ayah, we extract two conditions to have successful happy life. First, مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا. Whoever does good deeds. So now I need to take good deed and righteous action and put it as one of these conditions. وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ. Iman. Having Iman. So to have Iman, full Iman, and to have righteous actions, the Iman has to follow it with righteousness. It's not enough and sufficient to have Iman only. And that's why there are a group of the Muslims that have made a mistake in this. And they said, Iman, everybody's exactly the same, in the same level. And that is a big mistake. That's a serious big mistake. Iman is not all in the same level. So you're trying to say for me, if I said the Shahada, I'm going to be the same level as Abu Bakr. I'm going to be the same level as Umar and Uthman and Ali. No, it does not make sense. So those of that group who said that, they have made a major mistake, where they leveled Iman for everybody. But rather, as the people of knowledge, they said, and it's part of our aqeedah, it's part of our belief, Al-Iman yazidu wa yanqus. Iman increases, and what's the opposite of increase? Decrease. Yazidu bit-ta'ah, it increases with what? Obedience. Wa yanqusu bil-ma'siyah, and it decreases with sins. The more ibadah that you do, the more iman, the more blessings, the more increase in your iman. And the more sins you do, the less that you will have it. And therefore, a person himself, sometimes there come a time, especially Ramadan now is entering upon us. Ramadan is entering upon us. And obviously the first week, what's going to happen? The person is going to be like, I'm going to read the whole Quran, and everybody gets himself ready, and Taraweeh every day and everything. That's the first week, the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth. That's it. That's what happens to everybody. Because shaitan got hold of that person. Shaitan is very, very powerful, but shaitan cannot be powerful over a believer that has iman and is powerful. Shaitan, when he swore to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, وَبِعِزَّتِكَ لَأَغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. He said, I swear by your honor, Allah. Shaitan, he swears by the honor because he knows about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator. He knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is severe in punishment. Shaitan knows. Rather, shaitan is from the most creation that knows about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the most. But because of his disobedience and arrogance towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and towards the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will lead him to the hellfire. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from that. He said, I swear by your honor, Allah, I'm going to misguide them all. He said what? He made an exception. He said, إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلِصِينَ. Except your righteous, sincere, good servants. Those who have strong iman. I cannot come near them because the iman is pushing me away from them. How could a believer be connected with shaitan when he wakes up in the morning and he says his adhkar and he reads his du'as and he reads ayatul kursi and he prays salatul fajr? Nothing can happen to him. Wallahi. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, whoever prays fajr in jama'ah, kana fi dhimmatillah, is under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you're under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing, not even an ant can harm you. And now people are lazy about waking up for Fajr. He wakes up when the alarm rings, when he sets it up for his time for school, when he sets it up for his time for work. That's what. And if obviously he's late, what's going to happen? Panicking. Oh, I'm going to get fined if he's not done. Oh, I'm going to get a detention if he's in school. That's what he's worried. But he wakes up at Fajr. Fajr at 5 or so. Is it 8 o'clock? Okay, I still got 5 minutes to get ready for school. Fajr is something walking past to him. He's not worried. But if he wakes up and he misses Fajr, then he's like, ooh, should have done that. Should have woke up. Should have slept a little bit earlier. Should have put the timer on. Nobody have no excuse now not to wake up for Fajr. Person's got timers, got phones, got everything that a person needs to wake up for Fajr. There's no excuse for you. This is your salah, this is your life. If a person, for example, told you that there is going to be a valley, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, full of gold, will you go to it? Yes, you're going to be going to it and you're going to be taking bags and you're going to take it just to prepare for it. Just so you can take from it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you your success lies in salah. The blessing in this life lies in salah. Jannah, it has to be through salah. And a person is just chilling, sitting at the back, not worrying. And this is a very dangerous act that a person is going through. The person needs to wake up and he's like, oh, I missed my salah. I shouldn't have done that. Like how you're worried about waking up for school late, like how you're worried about going to your work late. You need to be worried about missing salah in that same manner. Rather more. This is what distinguishes the true believers from the weak Muslims. This is what distinguishes people in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and raises them rank. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who have high ranks in Jannah for those. Allahumma ameen. My dear respected brothers and sisters, Iman is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He bestowed upon the believers. And that's why in this hadith of the pillars of Islam, The scholars of knowledge, and this hadith of Jibreel, the scholars of knowledge divided Islam into 3 levels. The first level is Islam. The first level is Islam. And to enter it, you have to do the 5 pillars of Islam. The second highest level is what? What did we say? Iman. The second highest level is Iman. And in order for a person to enter that level, a person has to be following and having the Iman in all of the 6 pillars of Iman. And the highest level is Ihsan. The 1 pillar of Ihsan, to worship Allah as if you see. That's the highest level. And the scholars, they kind of explained it by, for example, if we put it in a circle, Islam is the big circle. Everybody can enter to it just by saying Shahada. And here, in this category, a person could be even cheating in regards to being a Muslim, but he can still enter this category. And Islam focuses on the outward actions. Shahada is an outward action. It's a statement to be said. Salah is an action. Zakah, Sawm, Hajj, they are actions. What distinguishes a person that does the 5 pillars of Islam? Because anybody that does the 5 pillars of Islam, he will be called a Muslim. And a person that has the 5 pillars of, the 6 pillars of Iman, and anybody that has the 6 pillars of Iman, he will be called a what? A mu'min. What distinguishes these two? That Iman, it is something to do with the inwards, the heart, the belief. And who can only judge that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Outward action. So a person might say, for example, oh, I want to say Shahada. Maybe because he's scared that the Muslims might not be kind to him. So he's like, oh, I'm just going to say Shahada so the Muslims can be kind to him. Or maybe he's praying just because he wants people to say that, oh, brother so-and-so is praying. This guy is praying. Ah, mashallah, look, this guy is always praying. But in reality, he's what? A hypocrite. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from being those. Ameen. And therefore, what distinguishes a Muslim and distinguishes a mu'min, which is a higher level, is what? That Islam is outward actions. Iman is inward actions. And the highest level is what? Ihsan. And if a person that does it, he would be what? A muhsin. Jazakallah khair. A good doer. A doer of good. To the highest level of the religion. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who are from the muhsineen. Allahumma ameen. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsineen. He didn't say mu'mineen, he didn't say muslimin, even though that's the true. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said what? Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsineen, the highest level of the religion. The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be attained through these blessings, through this ayah, that is an ayah as a guide for a believer. Man amila salihan min dhakarin aw untha. Good deeds, condition 1. Wa huwa mu'min, iman, condition 2. فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبًا. He will have a pleasant, happy life. He will have, this is a promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why, point 1, inshallah, when do we end here? Huh? What time is what? No. There's another lecture. When's the Sheikh's coming? Okay. So, point 1, and memorize them inshallah. Anybody that repeats these points that I will be saying inshallah will get £10. Now, all of them, without missing one. Okay? The first point in regards to assisting oneself with having full iman is being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we mentioned, we said these 2 conditions. To have a happy life, there are 2 conditions. What? Amalun salih, good deeds, righteous deeds, and Iman as first. Iman and Amalun salih. This will achieve a happy life for you. to achieve Iman and to keep Iman firm and to increase your Iman through ta'ah and obedience and everything, the first thing is through dhikrullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times. And to have ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To know your Lord. A person cannot be successful in this dunya without knowing his Lord. Why? Because our whole life is based upon 3 questions that a person will be asked about in his grave. And through these 3 questions, if he's successful, then he's going to be successful and he will enter Jannat al-Firdaus. And if he was not successful, then he's going to be from the greatest of losers and enter the hellfire. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from that. And that's why through knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person can be successful. The angel will come to a person and he will ask him, or 2 angels, there came some narrations, Munkar and Nakir, will come to a person in his grave as soon as the soil is put over that person. And the last person above his grave walks away. 2 angels will come and they will sit up this person and they will interrogate him. They won't ask him questions. Asking questions like what I'm doing to you now. Interrogation. You know, like the serious stuff. What they are trying to see if you're going to stick firm to these answers that you're going to answer, or you're shaky. Or you're not sure about them. And the narration comes that if a person is from the true successful believers, the angel will come and ask him and he say, Man Rabbuk? Ma Dinuk? Man Nabiyuk? And the person say, Rabbi Allah, Dini al-Islam, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he goes in length and they will ask him again and again and again to see if he's firm. If he's firm, and with the permission of Allah, they will say to him, you're truthful. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open a window for him into Jannatul Firdaus, into Jannah. And he will see Jannah. He will see the position that he will be given in Jannah. And he will see the blessings that he will be given in Jannah. And he will have the smell coming to him from the smell of Jannah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will turn in his deeds and form it into him as a companion that will be next to him, accompanying him. And then that type of person is successful. But if on the other time, once a person is on the other side, the person that's not successful, once his soul goes away and he dies and he gets put in the grave, his soul comes back to him. The 2 angels come, ask him these questions. They say, Man Rabbuk? He will say, la adri. Stuttering. I don't know. Knowing them is not enough. He might in this dunya, he knows that my Lord is Allah, my messenger is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my deen is Islam. But he stutters in that day. Why? Because he didn't act upon that. He knows them, but he didn't act upon that knowledge. And see, not acting upon the knowledge is very, very dangerous. And that's why it's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us make dua 17 times a day as a minimum. In Surah Al-Fatiha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ABDINAASIR al-Mustaqim. We, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us to say, guide us, O Allah, to the straight path. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم, the path of those who earned your blessing and earned your favor. غير المغضوب عليهم, not the path of those who earned your anger. And who earned Allah's anger? The Jews. Why did they earn Allah's anger? No?
It's because they knew who Allah was and they had multiple prophets sent to them, but they still denied it.
Close, barakallahu feek. They had knowledge. They had general knowledge They're the most knowledgeable nation towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they did not act upon that knowledge. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us to not have their traits, and told us to make isti'adah, and told us to make dua, to not make us of those type of people. That's a very bad trait. And that's why Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, he told us to have babul ilm qabla al-qawl wal-amal, to have knowledge first before we do any action. To have knowledge before we do any action. So once we have the knowledge, we do the action upon the correct. Because the opposite way is the way of the Christians. They did not have knowledge. And they acted upon their own whims and desires and their own knowledge. They made up their own thing. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ, and not those who went astray, the Christians. They didn't have knowledge, they acted without knowledge. And that's why these two traits, these two things, characteristics, are very dangerous. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from them. A believer is the one who acts upon the iman that he has, and he follows it. So now once a person, for example, knows who his Lord, and he knows about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will be successful. He will have iman with him in this dunya. And through having this iman and everything, to know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first question, a person needs to know about the tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he needs to know about that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the true Lord. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only Lord that deserves to be worshipped. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has names and attributes that has to be believed in. And it has to be understood. And that's why towards knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person can fear Allah.
أبدأ بالحمد مصليا على محمد خير نبي أرسلا وذي من أقسام الحديث عدة